Hello, welcome back. It is another episode of Weekend Reading. Another Wednesday, another weekend reading. So let us jump right into it and let's see what we can see. What the fuck does that even mean? Anyways, what did we have last week? Well, if you recall, we had Deadly Class, Volume 10, Savior Generation, which is a good read. Good continuation of that series. We had Batman, Volume 1, Their Dark Designs. Also, very good read. And we also had a Reckless book, Destroy All Monsters, which is by one of my favorite authors, so even though I don't predict what will be my favorite of the week, it was my prediction for the favorite of the week. But it wasn't. Surprise, surprise, between the two Image issues, it was actually Batman that was my favorite of the week. This is technically the start of a completely new Batman series. I don't know why. Actually going to get to that in a minute, but I don't know why it's a Volume 1. It doesn't make any sense. This was a really good read. It was a kickoff. It was by James Tinian IV. Weird name, I know, but he's a good writer. With art by Gilliam March, Tony S. Daniel, Carlo Paguelian, and Jorge Jimenez. And the main story was just, there's some backup stories, but the main story was basically about a very convoluted plot involving several Batman villains, including one villain who is now an ally in the form of Catwoman, and then three other villains being the Penguin, the Riddler, and the Joker. So basically 4 of Batman's most infamous villains. And just sort of this weird, complicated conspiracy they had been involved with for years, and an old villain that nobody had ever heard of coming back from the past. And basically, I won't give away the whole story because the twist of the thing at the end is something I have to admit I kind of saw coming. I kind of saw it coming a mile away, but it's still a good story, and it all boils down to the Joker getting a very big win over Batman at the end and really hurting him bad and putting him in a very new and unique position. And it makes me very interested to see where things are going now, because it's an interesting place to set the dynamic between the two. And it really shows how good of a villain the Joker can be, because when he wants to do something nefarious, he can do some nefarious shit. So it also really establishes why the Joker is Batman's arch nemesis, because he does some real arch nemesis shit here. So, that was Batman Volume 1, Their Dark Designs. That was the best of last weekend. So, what will we be reading this weekend, you might be asking? Well, let's take a look at that. I believe there's actually some more Batman. What do we got here? We have Strange Academy, Volume 2, Bright Side. This is an interesting new series. The Strange Academy teeters on the edge of tragedy. That almost rhymes. Hearts are broken, uncanny new abilities manifest, and a huge secret is revealed. The students attempt to return to some sense of normalcy with a couple of good old-fashioned field trips. But one is to outer space to uncover the magical artifact with Rocket and Groot, and the other is to Asgard. Then for orphan Calvin Morse, Parents' Day at Strange Academy isn't much fun. But while the rest of the parents tour the campus, Calvin and an unlikely friend will discover something truly terrifying. A shocking murder mystery awaits as Marvel's smash hit series continues into its second semester. Collecting Strange Academy 7 through 12 by Scotty Young, Humberto Ramos, and Edgar Delgado. That's just a good lineup of creators right there. And the first volume of this series was really interesting. I always liked it when they did things like this in the past. Series like this don't have a tendency to last, but they're they're that's weird. Series like this don't have a tendency to not last, which is sad because they're usually pretty good. But maybe that's for the best, because a series that goes on for too long without clear direction beyond what it's initially supposed to be they usually can get pretty bad, and you wouldn't want that. But I always like series like this, like we're about, like young new characters learning their abilities and shit. So this one's pretty good. Like I said, another Batman one. We have, this is actually a pretty old series from what I remember. Batman, Last Night on Earth. Night with a K, because he's the Dark Knight, It's a play on words. The last word on the Dark Knight. Powerhouse creative team Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who are a very good team. They've created a lot of good stuff together. Concluded decade-long partnership with the Caped Crusader and Batman, Last Night on Earth. 20 years in the future, Bruce Wayne wakes up in Arkham Asylum, young, sane, and he's never been Batman. To piece together the mystery of his past, the Dark Knight embarks on a sprawling quest through this unknown world, meeting futuristic versions of former friends and enemies, including a grisly traveling companion, the Joker's head. Fun. Somehow still alive, Joker's decapitated head becomes Batman's ghoulish guide through the landscape of the devastated DC universe. But to unravel the cause of this terrible future, he'll need to track down the unspeakable force that destroyed the world he once knew. This could be the last Batman story ever told. It's not. But I'm sure it'll be a good one. I think it's the last one that Snyder and Capullo did together, and they were a really good creative team for Batman, so I look forward to this one. Could be another favorite of the week. Who knows? Here's a good series. Once in Future, Volume 3, The Parliament of Magpies. With Beowulf and Grendel vanquished, Grand Duncan and Rose return their attention to Merlin, but in their path lies a cadre of legendary knights. As the three battle their way through new enemies, Merlin has all his pawns ready for the final play, a move on the Grail Castle to claim the prize for King Arthur and to send our world into chaos. New York Times best-selling writer Kieran Gillen and Russ Manning, award-winning artist, that's the award, and Russ Manning award-winning artist Dan Mora. Who the fuck is Russ Manning? I should look that up. Deliver the third chapter of the Eisner Award-nominated series. Collects Once in Future 13 through 18. This is a good series. This is a really fun series. I've always had a soft spot for Arthurian lore, which might be the lamest thing that's ever come out of my mouth. But it's true. It's just the truth. It's a really interesting play on the King Arthur mythology, and playing up very much in that it's a lot of it is mythology, but also reality. So I don't know how to explain it other than that, but it's great writing and great art, and it's a great series. So, honest to God, this week, I couldn't tell you what would be my favorite. It could be, once again, any one of these. So you'll have to find out next week if you really give a damn, which you probably don't, so whatever. So that's that. So what now do I talk about amidst the glow of my Christmas lights? That's where this weird light is coming from. It's my Christmas lights in my living room. Yeah, it's kind of dark today. It's kind of dark right now. It's almost 5 o'clock. But you didn't release this at 5 o'clock. Well, yes, obviously I filmed it earlier. If you really think about it, I probably didn't film this on Wednesday. But let's not get into that. What are we talking about this week? Well, we got ourselves... I figured I've been doing a lot of abandoned plot shit the past couple of weeks. So let's go back to a good old-fashioned question of the week. My mouth gets dry. Oh boy. Okay, so what are the question of the week this week? You know what? It's actually good that we had that Batman That the one that was my favorite, Our Dark Designs, because it brings up something that I want to talk about. It's a volume 1, but it collects issues 85 through 94. So why the fuck is it a volume 1? That doesn't make any sense. Because this is something they do with reboots, with volumes a lot, because there's a new writer-artist team taking over. That's why. So that's why it's a new volume. Now, it's just a new volume of the trades. That actually kind of makes sense. The series was continuing, but it's picking up a new storyline, so I could see why you'd say it's a new volume 1. But here's the thing. In recent years, there's been a trend. I'm going to try to make this one quick. I meander way too long with these, so I'm going to try to make this one quick. So my point is that in recent years, there's been a big somewhere along the way, about, let's say 20 years ago, maybe a little less than that, but let's just say 20 years. Fuck it. 20 years ago, somebody realized that if you started off, I'm trying to think if it was when they did the New 52. It might have been before that. I can't remember if this is a symptom of the New 52 or if the New 52 was a symptom of this. But, fuck it. I talked about the whole New 52 thing, but it does tie into this. It's the starting old books with new number 1s. Rebooting the book as a number 1. A long-running series. Because somewhere along the way, they realized that comic books could be intimidating when you have issues that are reaching into like the dozens or even the 100s of issues. But if you started out with a new number 1, you're starting fresh. And that's a good way to bring people in. And like I said, they did that with, when I talked about the New 52, they did it with that. They restarted all their books, even the long-running series. The problem with that is that when they realized that that is a good selling point, whenever they wanted to increase sales with books, they would just do that. I've seen series start with new number 1s. Now, normally when a series picks up when a series ends and then picks up a new number 1, it usually changes like the writer and artist team, or at least the writer, so that you know the story is going in a new direction. I have seen some series, I believe it was a Daredevil series, that picked up a new number 1. The writing team did not, the writer did not change, the artist did not change. The story was literally continuing where the last series left off. So what was the point of the number 1? Because somebody just wanted to boost sales. I get if there's some big major change coming to the series and one thing came and a story came to a close and a new story started. Although back in the day they would just keep a comic book going with that. But saying back in the day, that's very old man shit of me, and I'm old, but I'm not that fucking old. At least not yet. But so it's really just an artificial sales tactic. It's just a means to get people to pick up new number 1s. But this is a business. You want to sell your comic books. And I get how a comic book could be intimidating if it's like, I mean, some of these characters are, we're talking, the Marvel characters, with the exception of Captain America, you're talking characters that are like over 50, are reaching into 60 years old now. Oh, in the case of Captain America, it's 70 years old now. I'm sorry, 80 years old now. It's 2021. If you're talking about with the DC characters, most of them are 80 years old. Batman and Superman are older than that. They're reaching into the point where they're going to start in a couple of years. They're going to be 90 years old. You know how many It comic book issues that is? So you want to not make it intimidating. You got to restart things fresh every now and then. And they have, over the decades, this is the first time they started rebooting series. They've done it plenty of times over the decades, through the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. It's just that in the past 20 years, rebooting and restarting comic books as number ones has been the real recent trend. Like in the 90s, when they did a lot of sales gimmicks to try to get people to buy more comic books, there wasn't a lot of number ones thrown out, but that's the sales gimmick of the aughts in the 2010s, has been the start a book from scratch at number one, bring people in, because it does work. It has a tendency to bring people in. These are characters people like, especially with the movies. You might be getting new people interested, and they see, oh, it's issue 300 and something, but if it's issue number one, or even if it's not issue number, it's issue number 5. Well, if it's issue number 5, then you can pick up issue number 5, and you go, well, there's just 4 more issues I could just go back and pick up. All comic book stores keep back issues. Pick up number 4. Honestly, it makes sense. It's like, with me just getting trades now, I still argue that trades is the best way to do things, especially if you're a new reader. Single issues are too expensive and they're way too flimsy. Just get a trade. They're more durable. It collects a full story usually. But that is the sales gimmick, is starting number ones. But then the thing is, if a comic book is really old, like let's say in the case of Action Comics and Detective Comics, when they get to issue 1000, guess what they do? All of a sudden the original numbering comes back. Everything gets collected. It's like, we realize we published 1,000 issues of this book, and now it's 1,000 issue because it's a milestone book. So they do recognize that this shit has been going on for a long time, which just further sends home that it's just a fucking flimsy sales gimmick. What's your point, Matt? There's supposed to be a question here. Yes, there is. So my question is the constant stream of reboots and number ones to sell comic books a good thing? Because artistically, it's just a hollow, empty gesture that seems at best pointless, and at worst could completely fuck up the flow of a comic book. And as you can see, it's not just with single issues. Now they're doing it with trades. This is a volume 1 of a trade in a comic book that is not anywhere near volume 1 if it's being collected in trades. But on the other hand, if you say it's volume 5 of a book, you might not want to jump in. But if it's volume 1 with a completely new story, with a completely new writer-artist team, well, now it seems slightly more tempting, because this this reads very much like it's its own self-contained story that could very much come off as an issue 1, or as starting from an issue 1. It's a volume, it collects several issues, but. So maybe it does, from a business standpoint, maybe it is a good thing, because it makes things less intimidating to readers. It's a good place to fucking start off. Honest to God, from a business aspect, I think just trades are the future. I like the digital. There's too many problems with digital still, and trades are they're just a great way to collect books. But for some reason, trade sales aren't measured when it comes to the popularity of a comic book, because they come out months after the fact, which I think is stupid, because I only buy shit in trades now. Sorry. Single issues they fall apart too easily. They're too expensive. It's not worth it. Trades are the way to go. But that's not my point. So my question, I will reiterate. Are reboots and number ones a good thing? It's not exactly great artistically, but it is good for business. Maybe. I would argue that restarting things at number 1 all the time kind of ends up even being a hollow as a business practice, and make people go, wasn't this just a number 1 just like a couple months ago? It makes it hard to follow a series, because they're serials. You kind of want to follow them too, so it might be a bad thing business-wise. That's what I'm asking. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? You tell me. I personally think it's not a good thing. I think it's stupid. And it seems to be slowing down. A couple of years ago, it was a really common thing that like every fucking... I mean, I swear to God, it was like every year. Some comic books were getting new #1s. It was ridiculous. And there was no point for it. It was stupid as shit. They don't seem to be doing it as much anymore. But they still do it. So, are they a good thing or a bad thing? Are reboots and #1s a good thing or a bad thing? You tell me. I should have put that on silent. My bad. Alright, fuck it. This is... I'm starting to meander again. Alright, you got the question. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I hope you enjoy your reading. Have a good one, folks.